Hello and welcome to the workout of the week. For this one we've got a little bit of a special one. It was a question asked to me about the top exercises that I'd perform for runners. And I've actually done a blog on this, so hopefully you're going to have a chance to read the blog. What I've done is selected my top 5 exercises for runners, and we're going to go through those now. The first one we've got Andy here to demonstrate is the 2-arm kettlebell swing. The 2-arm kettlebell swing is a great exercise for promoting triple extension through the ankle, knee and hip, and full hip extension. Really important attributes for any runner. Also, it's great for developing power through the posterior chain. Again, another really important attribute for a runner. So the key thing with the kettlebell swing, we're just going to give you a couple of key technique points here, and then you can go away and work on these things. You're going to hinge at the hip, you're going to push the kettlebell back through the legs, keeping the arms quite high up in the adductors. You're going to keep your arms relaxed at all times. As you're extending the hips, you're going to come to full hip extension, and you're going to focus on extension of the knee and hip, especially full range of motion or full extension at the hip joint. Okay? Glutes want to be really tight at the top of that swing, and you want to make sure that there's a neutral spine throughout this movement pattern. And rest there. If you just face the front here, Andy, for me, you'll notice that with this, in terms of stance, because we're hopefully trying to make this, or to help runners here, we're trying to cross over to the running patterns. We want to try and make this as sagittal plane as possible. So with a lot of people, they tend to kind of swing with a fairly wide stance, feet facing out, and there's no issues with that. But what we're looking at here is to try and develop ankle, knee and hip movement in the sagittal plane. Okay, so what we're going to do here is really try and focus on feet facing fairly forwards. Although we can't get our feet directly underneath our hip because of the weight of the kettlebell or the size of the kettlebell, we can bring our feet in as much as possible to help develop that sagittal plane movement. Okay, so that's just one specific point to think about when we're performing this exercise specific to running or the crossovers to running. Okay, so that's your first exercise, or my first exercise for the top 5 for runners. Okay, here's exercise number 2 in my top 5 exercises for runners. This is the barbell power clean. And again, for this clip, we're just going to do some key technique points and demonstrate the exercise, but have a read of the blog so you understand why we're choosing this exercise. First of all, set yourself up with toes underneath the bar. Now you should be able to see at least your big toe and maybe a few of the other ones. You're going to sit down, pick up the bar. Okay, essentially in this position, you're going to drop your hips down towards the floor, drive your chest up. Okay, make sure that you've got your arms locked out. Make sure that you're pulling your lats in or pulling your elbows in to try and activate your lats and keep very strong. You're going to take a deep breath in. Okay, so that's your setup position. You don't want to be holding down there for too long like Andy is now in this demonstration, because basically you're going to lose all that elastic potential to drive back up again. So Andy, you can just reset yourself again. So the first thing is to take the grip of the bar. Okay, the grip of the bar is going to be just outside of the knee. Okay, sit down, and then he's going to pull and drive. Okay, with the power clean, there's no drop or no deep drop. We're not dropping into the squat to catch the bar, to receive the bar. We're using all of the power from the lower body essentially to bring the bar up to the wrap position. So there may be just a little small dip at the bottom, which you'll see in this next repetition. So we're coming through all of the pulling phases first before we then receive the bar in the wrap position. When we receive the bar in the wrap position, if we have a look at this next rep, we want to make sure that our elbows are forwards and essentially our upper arm is horizontal to the floor. Our head's forwards and the bar is just sitting across the shoulders. And once we've received the bar there, then we can bring the bar back down to the ground. Just one more, just to look at the hip extension at the top. So we're pulling the bar up. As we're pulling the bar, we're triple extending. Triple extension, remember, massively important. And then we're just going to catch the bar there. We've got full extension of the hips. Okay, so those are some of the key technique points for my second exercise in this series. Okay, exercise number 3 in my top 5 exercises for runners. This is the Bulgarian split squat. A great exercise, but one that most people wouldn't necessarily think of doing for our conditioning work for runners. However, it's a great exercise, as you'll see and read from the blog. We're just going to demonstrate some of the techniques here and some of the key things that we're looking for. So Andy's going to be working with dumbbells here, and we're going to be working with a platform like the deck that we've got Okay, it needs to be of a reasonable height. Just below knee height is generally kind of about what we're looking for to allow us to get the correct range of motion and to also get a really nice stretch through the hip on the back leg. What we're going to do is once we've picked up the dumbbells, we're going to set ourselves up in this position, make sure we're stable first, and then we're going to lower down towards the floor. Torso angle is going to lean forwards. It's going to be in line with the shin. Okay, and the focus should be on the back leg. Just a bit of support essentially. It's just there to support, so the toes are just sitting on the deck to support this movement. All of the work here is going through the front leg. The key things here are that we're driving the knee forwards over the toes, okay, or in line with the toes, and we're sitting back in the hips, so we're focusing on good work through the quadriceps and also great loading, great work through the glutes. Okay, so it's a really good exercise for any runner because a single leg movement, great for developing good quality and good control through the knee joint and through the hip complex. It's not about heavy weights this, and swap over for us, Andy. Repetitions don't have to be that high either. We really want to just make sure that we've got good form, good technique, and we've got really good alignment between ankle, knee and hip. Okay, so those are some of the key things you should be looking for. Balance and control. We want to make sure that the core is switched on, so we've got that control through the pelvis. And we've got to make sure that the ankle, knee and hip are in a nice alignment. And that's going to really help develop a good position or good strength for when you're running. Okay, excellent. So that's exercise number 3. Okay, and exercise number 4 for our top 5 exercises for runners is a lateral lunge or a side lunge with the core bag. As discussed in the blog, this is a great exercise working in the frontal plane to develop frontal plane movement to improve the stabilizers which are required when running. So we're just going to have a look at the technique points here, and again refer back to the blog to understand why we're performing this exercise. So with the feet facing straight forwards, we're going to keep the feet facing straight forwards throughout this exercise, and he's going to step out to the side. He's going to plant his foot on the floor. He's going to load over that foot so we can hopefully see that there's a good alignment between ankle, knee and hip. He's trying to drive that hip across so it's in line with the foot, and then he's going to step back to the middle again and then step out again. Now in terms of range of motion, we don't need to be driving too far out to the side, or we don't need to be stepping too far out to the side, because what we're focusing on here is that stacking of weight over the ankle, knee and hip. Okay, so if we just get Andy to step out really far now for the next one, you'll notice that he struggles to keep that frontal plane movement. He'll probably find that his foot's either turning out to the side, or you'll see how this angle is now not appropriate. So we've got a poor loading here through the ankle, knee and hip. We want to make sure that the stacking is in line. So if we shorten the distance just to about here, okay, off you go. And then we'll notice that hopefully we can get a much better loading through ankle, knee and hip. And now you can see how the hip is stacking directly over the foot. And that's what we're looking for. In that position as well, we want to make sure that back leg is straight, so we're opening up through the hips or through the adductors. Okay, so we'll do exactly the same on the other side. So Andy, just step across this side for me and just perform a few to the other side. With the core bag, it's just a nice, easy piece of equipment just to be sitting on the back to give you that added load to perform this exercise. We can start off with body weight to start off with if you're just learning this movement pattern, but at some point we want to make sure that you're loading this exercise. So with the core bag, it's soft, it sits on the back nice and easy, it's easy to pick up. I'd always recommend using something like this to perform this drill. Okay, so that's your side lunge, the great exercise for developing frontal plane movement, which as discussed in the blog is essential for all runners. Okay, and now on to our final exercise for the top 5 exercises for runners. This is the big one. This is one of my favorites actually, something that you possibly may not have seen before. It's a knee driving movement and really, really good, as discussed in the blog, for developing or improving elastic potential across the ankle, knee and hip, especially in the ankle. Great for knee tracking and in improving quad strength. Okay, so Andy's going to step underneath the bar. He's going to take a squat stance to start off with underneath the bar. He's going to make sure the bar's sitting across the shoulders just below C7. He's going to pick the bar up off the rack. He's going to step back. He's going to now set himself up with a reasonably narrow stance with his feet facing directly forwards. He's going to be focusing on ankle, knee and hip tracking, so knees tracking directly over the toes. Okay, so we're looking for really good alignment. With this movement pattern, what we're aiming for is a knee driving movement. So essentially it's like a bounding exercise. It's a fairly rhythmical movement. So Andy will just get in there and start performing it. So the torso stays reasonably upright. The focus is on driving the knees forwards and slamming the heels into the floor. By slamming the heels into the floor, we're gaining that good ground reaction force and we're building up that elasticity through the Achilles tendon. So we're using elastic potential to drive back up again. We're also driving the knee forwards to try to tap into some elastic potential across the quadriceps and across the knee complex. Okay, in terms of repetitions here, you tend to go quite high, as discussed in the blog, which is probably looking between 40 to 60 repetitions. Okay, so that's also going to help build and develop some cardiovascular fitness whilst performing this exercise. Once you finish, make sure you step in, touch the catch rack, and then lower the bar, and then you can step away from the bar. Okay, so those are your knee drivers, a great movement pattern, a great exercise. So that's the final one. I hope you've enjoyed all those exercises. Give them a go. And again, as always, we want to know hear how you got on with those. So post some feedback on social media for us.